scientific disinformation and misinformation. The difference between misinformation and disinformation is the intent. Misinformation is a content that is shared by someone who doesn't realize it is wrong. Disinformation is a content with malicious intent, purposely created to seem legitimate, but has an agenda to cause harm and to manipulate. In this video, we will look to some examples of misinformation and disinformation. In particular, we will see some problems related to articles with scientific content, and we also identify the most important aspects to pay attention to in order to logically analyze scientific articles and to avoid the spread of useless fake news. Search precise scientific data and think about it. Presence of cocaine in Rome atmosphere. Many Italian newspapers, very important newspapers, reported the news of the presence of cocaine and other substances in the air of Rome, without telling any type of concentration or other scientific data. They say that it's enough to sniff the air of Rome to feel euphoric. They say that it's not useful to call a pusher. All that because a particular language was used to make psychological terrorism. The damage was done and misinformation was spread. After concentration data were added, some people made a simple calculation about the concentration, and they saw that we are talking about a microscopic quantity through all the air of the capital. In particular, if we take 1 gram of flour, which is a third of a teaspoon, and this gram we divide it in 80 portions, just one of these 80 portions is the total amount of cocaine that is diluted in the air of the capital. So we can see that in this case, omitting some important concentration data or other scientific data can cause the spreading of useless panic and useless misinformation. Try to find if scientific data are contextualized. Lose weight just by breathing. According to a group of researchers from the University of New South Wales, this is possible. Some British researchers discovered that more than 80% of the body fat leaves the body through exhalation. They discovered that the lungs are the main organ through which weight is lost. So basically, in order to lose weight, you need just to breathe. Doing some research about the sources of this news, we discovered that the British Medical Journal is the academic journal that published firstly this article and this news. But the British Medical Journal published this news on the Christmas issue, in which it is usually published this type of joking articles. Over the few past years, the British Medical Journal has published such articles, but not everyone can understand that they are written to make people laugh or smile, especially when they are read many years after or later, or out of context. So this article says that it's very important checking the news sources. It is the first step, but also contextualization is fundamental. Think about the phases of the scientific experiment. Aspirin plus vitamin C provides better relief than placebo in managing the symptoms of the common cold. They report a study on aspirin added with vitamin C as having better results in treating common cold symptoms rated than the solution with plain water, which is the placebo solution. In order to have reliable data and reliable results, you should compare the results with treatment with aspirin added with vitamin C, which is a drug, with the simple aspirin, which is another drug, and not with the simple water placebo solution. This was made for selling because aspirin added with vitamin C is much more expensive, so this thing is not fair. Pay attention to the language. White sugar, an invisible enemy. Excess sugar consumption can cause some problems, but there are those who define white sugar as a white poison. This article tries to scare using words such as loss, destruction, highly poisonous acid, and complex industrial transformation. It mixes true facts with false informations. He wants to trigger fear and emotional response in the reader. It wants to suggest that since chemicals are used, the final product is dangerous and poisonous. It reports true things but paints them in dark colors in order to emotionally reactive the reader. So in these cases, particular attention must be paid to the language that is used to describe a chemical substance or a chemical process. Sometimes a particular language and some words are used to trigger fear, to trigger an emotional response in the reader in order to persuade him and convincing him of false information and useless fake news.